Part 1. The Discovery. One freezing winter night, deep in a silent forest of snow-covered pine trees, two woodcutters, John and Luke, were making their way home. The cold was a sharp, biting thing. It was in the air, on the ground, and in their bones. The trees stood stiff and frozen, the birds were silent in their nests, and the forest animals were hidden away from the cold. The rabbits huddled deep in their burrows, and the squirrels did not stir from their nests. But the two men, John and Luke, had to continue their journey. They whispered a prayer to Saint Martin, the protector of all who travel, and pushed onward. At last, through the thick, dark trees, they saw the warm, distant lights of their small village. A wave of relief washed over them, and they laughed, their breath turning to white clouds in the empty air. For a moment, the world seemed magical. The snowy ground shone like a silver flower, and the moon hung in the sky like a flower made of gold. But their happiness did not last long. Soon, a familiar sadness returned. "Why were we so happy for a moment?" asked Luke. "Life is made for the rich, not for poor men like us. It would be better to die here in the snow, or for a wild animal to find us." Just as he spoke these words, something extraordinary happened. A brilliant and beautiful star detached itself from the sky, falling like a fiery tear. It landed with a soft hiss in a drift of snow not far from where they stood. "Look," John said, pointing with a gloved hand, "a falling star. Perhaps we will find a pot of gold where it landed. Let's go and see." They rushed to the spot, their hearts pounding with a mix of fear and hope. When they arrived, they did find something golden lying on the pure white snow, but it was not the treasure they expected. It was a cloak woven from cloth of gold and embroidered with golden stars. Carefully, they opened the cloak, and inside, they found a small baby fast asleep. Around the baby's tiny neck was a delicate chain made of amber. "This is no good," Luke said, his face falling. "Let's leave the baby here. We have too many children of our own and not enough money to feed them. I cannot take another mouth to feed. But we can't leave this little child here alone in the cold," John argued, his voice full of compassion. "He will surely die. I will take him home with me. We also have many children and little food, but my wife, Mary, will look after him." And so, the good woodcutter, John, gently lifted the sleeping baby into his arms, wrapped the golden cloak tightly around him, and continued his journey home. When they reached the edge of the village, Luke said, "Since you have the child, you must give me the cloak of gold as my share." But his friend John shook his head. "No," he answered firmly, "this cloak does not belong to you or to me. It belongs to the child. It must stay with him." John's wife, Mary, was overjoyed to see her husband safe. She threw her arms around him and kissed him. "I found something in the forest," he said, "and I brought it home for you." "Oh, what is it?" she asked, her eyes shining with curiosity. "We are so poor, we need so many things." But when she saw the baby, her face grew hard and she became angry. "We already have too many children," she cried. "There is not enough money to buy bread as it is. I do not want another child in this house." But then, she looked down at the sleeping baby's innocent face, and her heart softened with pity. "He is a star child," her husband said softly. "We must love him." So Mary took the baby and made a small bed for him. She carefully folded the golden cloak and placed the amber chain into a large wooden chest for safekeeping. "Yes," she answered, her voice quiet now. "We will love him." Part 2. The cruel prince, the star child, whom they named Orion, grew up with the woodcutter and his family, but he was very different from them and all the other children in the village. With every passing year, Orion became more beautiful. His skin was as white and smooth as ivory. His hair was like a field of golden daffodils in the sun. His lips were as red as the petals of a flower, and his eyes were the color of deep blue violets growing by a river. The other villagers, who had dark hair and dark eyes, would stare at Orion in wonder. But for all his beauty, Orion was cruel, arrogant, and selfish. He looked down upon the other children of the village, often laughing at them and saying, "Your parents are poor and common, but I am noble. I came from a star." He had no pity for the poor, the sick, or the unfortunate. He would mock people who were ugly or ill. He enjoyed hurting the small animals of the forest and would laugh at their suffering. He was incredibly vain and loved his own beauty more than anything. In the long summer afternoons, he would often go to the old well in the priest's garden. There, he would stare for hours at the reflection of his own handsome face in the still water, and this would make him happy. John and Mary treated the boy with kindness, but his behavior made them deeply sad. They often said to him, "We were good to you. We took pity on you when you were a helpless baby. Why are you so cruel to others? Why must you act this way?" The village priest also grew worried and tried to reason with him. "You must respect all of God's creatures," he told Orion. "Even the smallest fly is your brother. Why do you find pleasure in causing pain to others?" But Orion would not listen. He continued to torment animals and laugh at the misfortunes of other people. The other children, captivated by his beauty and his skill in dancing and making music, followed him everywhere. He was their leader, and under his influence they too became cruel and hard-hearted. One day, a poor beggar woman came to the village. Her clothes were tattered and torn, and her bare feet were cut and bleeding from her long journey. Exhausted, she sat down to rest under a large chestnut tree. Orion saw her and called to his friends, "Look at that ugly beggar woman. We don't want people like her in our village." And with that, he and his followers began to throw small stones at the poor woman. She was terrified, but through her fear, she kept her eyes fixed on Orion's face, a strange look in her eyes. "What are you doing?" shouted John, the woodcutter, running over when he saw what was happening. "Stop this immediately. Why do you have no pity for this poor woman?" "I will not listen to you," Orion replied coldly. "You are not my father." "That is true," John said, his voice heavy with sadness. "But I had pity for you when I found you in the forest." The old woman was listening to their words. When she heard this, she let out a loud cry and fainted to the ground. The woodcutter carried her into his small house, and his wife placed meat and drink on the table for her. But she would not eat or drink. Instead, she asked in a weak voice, "Did this child come from the forest? Did he have a cloak of gold, with stars on it? Did this happen about 10 years ago?" The woodcutter was stunned. "Yes," he replied. "And did he have a chain of amber around his neck?" She pressed. "Yes, he did," said the woodcutter. "Come with me. I will show you the cloak and the chain." When the woman saw these items, she began to cry with overwhelming joy. "He is my little son," she wept. "I am his mother. I lost him in the forest 10 years ago, and I have searched all over the world for him. Now I have found him again." The woodcutter was amazed and went to call the boy. "Orion, come into the house. You will find your mother here." The star child was very happy, thinking some beautiful, noble lady had arrived. He ran inside, but when he saw the beggar woman, his face twisted in disgust. "Where is my mother? I see no one here, only this horrible beggar woman." "I am your mother," she said, her voice trembling. "You must be mad," he sneered. "I am not your son. You are a beggar, dressed in rags. I am a child of the stars." "But I recognized you the moment I saw you," she pleaded, "and I recognize your golden cloak and your amber chain. Robbers stole you from me as a baby. Come to me, my son. Your love is all I have in this world." She opened her arms to him, but he was filled with rage and closed the doors of his heart to her. The woman cried with a deep, painful sob, "Oh, kiss me just once before I go. I have traveled the whole world and suffered so much to find you." "Never," he spat. "You are too ugly. I would rather kiss a toad or a snake than kiss you." The woman stood up, her body shaking with grief, and walked out of the house, crying bitterly. The star child was happy to see her go. He then went back outside to play with his friends. Part 3 The punishment. Orion went to find his friends, but when they saw him, they pointed and laughed. "Go away," they shouted. "We don't want to play with you now. You are ugly." Why are they saying these things to me? He wondered, confused and angry. He ran to the well in the priest's garden to look at his reflection. He gasped in horror. His face was no longer beautiful. He now had the face of a toad, and his skin was scaly like a snake. In that moment, the star child understood. He fell to his knees and began to cry. "This is my punishment," he sobbed. "I was cruel to my mother, and she suffered because of me. Now I must find her and ask her to forgive me." The woodcutter's young daughter, Lily, came and put a hand on his shoulder. "It doesn't matter if you are ugly," she said gently. "Please stay with us. I will not laugh at you." "No," he replied, shaking his head. "This is my punishment. I treated my mother with hatred, and now I must travel the world until I find her." He ran into the forest, calling out, "Mother, mother, I am sorry. Please come back." All day he called for her, but there was no answer. When night fell, he slept on a bed of leaves. But when the wild animals saw him, they ran away, for they remembered his cruelty. He said to the mole, "You can travel under the ground. Please tell me if my mother is there." "I cannot see if your mother is there," the mole replied sadly, "because you once blinded my eyes with a sharp stick." He said to a small bird, "You can fly high above the trees. Tell me if you can see my mother anywhere." "I cannot fly to look for your mother," the bird chirped, "because you once clipped my wings for your own amusement." He saw a little squirrel and asked, "Where is my mother?" The squirrel chattered angrily, "I do not know. You killed my own mother. Do you now wish to kill yours as well?" The star child heard these things, and he cried and prayed to God to forgive him. He traveled through many different villages searching for his mother. The children of these villages laughed at his ugly face and threw stones at him. No one showed him any pity. Part for the 3 coins for 3 long years. The star child wandered the world, but he could not find his mother. One day, he arrived at the gates of a great city that was surrounded by a high wall. The soldiers guarding the gate stopped him. "What are you doing here?" they demanded. "I am looking for my mother," he said. "Please let me pass. Perhaps she is in this city." "Who is your mother, and why are you looking for her?" asked another soldier. "She is a poor beggar, just like me now," he explained, "and I was very cruel to her. I want to find her so I can ask for her forgiveness." But the soldiers just laughed. "You are far too ugly. No mother could love a child who looks like you. She will not be happy to see you. Come with us. We will sell you as a slave." They sold the star child to a cruel old man for the price of a cup of sweet wine. This old man was an evil magician from a distant land. The magician took the boy and locked him in a dark dungeon, giving him only a crust of stale bread and a little dirty water. The next day, the magician came to him and said, "You must go into the forest. In that forest are 3 pieces of gold. One is of white gold, one is of yellow gold, and one is of red gold. You are my slave. If you do not bring me the piece of white gold by sunset, I will beat you 100 times." So the star child went into the forest to look for the white gold, but he found nothing but sharp thorns and tangled weeds. He could not find the white gold anywhere. As the sun began to set, the boy sat down and started to cry, knowing the terrible beating that awaited him. Suddenly, he heard a cry of pain. He looked and saw a small rabbit caught in a hunter's trap. Forgetting his own troubles, he felt pity for the little creature and immediately set it free. "Thank you," said the rabbit. "You are very kind for saving me. What can I give you in return?" "I must find a piece of white gold for the magician," the boy said. "If I do not bring it to him, he will beat me." "I will help you," said the rabbit. "I know where to find it." The rabbit led the star child to a hollow in an old tree, and inside, gleaming softly, was the piece of white gold. The star child was overjoyed and thanked the rabbit. He returned to the city, but at the city gate he saw an old man begging. The man was terribly ill and looked as if he was starving. "Give me some money," the old man cried, "or I will die of hunger." The star child felt great pity for the old man. All he had was the piece of white gold. "This old man needs this money more than I do," the star child thought to himself, and he gave the gold coin to the beggar. The magician was furious when the star child returned with empty hands. He beat the boy cruelly and threw him back into the dungeon with no food and no water. The next day, the magician said, "Today, you must return to the forest and find the piece of yellow gold. If you fail, I will beat you 300 times. The boy went back into the forest and searched all day, but he could not find it. Finally, he sat under a tree and cried. The rabbit heard him and asked, "Why are you crying?" "I must find the piece of yellow gold, or the magician will beat me without mercy." "Follow me," said the rabbit. "I will show you where it is." He led the star child to a clear pool of water, and at the very bottom, shimmering, was the piece of yellow gold. The star child returned to the city, but at the gate, the same old man was there. "Give me some money," he begged. "If you do not, I will surely die." The star child once again felt pity and gave the yellow gold to the old man. The magician was enraged. "No gold again? Then you get no food and no water." He beat the star child even more severely, put him in heavy chains, and threw him back into the dark prison. The next day, the magician said, "Today you must go to the forest and find the piece of red gold. If you find it, you will be free. If you do not find it, I will kill you." The boy went into the forest and searched all day, but he could not find the red gold. As evening approached, he sat down and cried, believing his life was over. The rabbit appeared again and asked why he was crying. The star child explained everything, and once more, the kind rabbit helped him. This time, he found the red gold deep inside a dark cave. Thank you, my friend," the boy said, and he ran back to the city. At the city gate, the old man was there again. "Give me some money, or I will die," he cried weakly. The star child looked at the coin in his hand and then at the old man. He felt great pity and gave him the piece of red gold. "You need it more than I do," he said. His heart was heavy, because he knew the magician would now kill him. But as he walked past the guards at the city gate, they suddenly bowed low to him. "Look, it is our beautiful lord," they exclaimed. The star child walked through the city, and more people began to follow him, all of them shouting, "He is the most beautiful boy in the world." But the star child was only sad. "They are mocking me," he thought. He walked until he reached a great public square where a king's palace stood. The people gathered around him and said, "You are our lord, the son of our king." "I am not a king's son," he said. "I am the son of a poor beggar woman." "And why do you say I am beautiful? I know that I am ugly." "Why do you say you are ugly?" "Look," said a soldier, holding up his polished silver shield. The shield was like a mirror. The star child looked into it and saw his reflection. His old beauty had returned. He was as handsome as he was before. "There is a prophecy," the people said, "that on this day, our new king will come to us. You are our king. Take this crown and this scepter and rule over us with justice and mercy." "No," he replied, shaking his head. "I am not worthy. I must first find my mother." He turned to leave, pushing through the crowd towards the city gate, and there, standing in the crowd, he saw her, his mother, the beggar woman, and standing next to her was the old man he had helped at the gate. He ran to his mother, fell to his knees before her, and kissed her wounded feet. "Mother, I am so sorry," he wept. "Please forgive me. Once I gave you only my hatred. Please give me your love now." But the woman did not speak. The star child turned to the old man. "Please," he begged, "I helped you 3 times. Please ask my mother to speak to me." But the old man also did not speak. The star child began to cry again, his tears falling on the ground. "Please forgive me, mother. Please forgive me." At last, the woman placed her hand on his head and said, "Stand up." The old man placed his hand on the boy's head, too. When the star child stood up, he saw that the beggar woman was a magnificent queen, and the old man was a noble king. The queen said to him, "This is your father. You showed him mercy 3 times." And the king said to him, "This is your mother. You have washed her feet with your tears." The boy hugged them and kissed them both. They took him to the palace and placed the crown upon his head and the scepter in his hand. He became the new king, and he ruled with great justice and mercy for all. He sent generous gifts to the woodcutter, John, and his family. He was a friend to the poor and was kind to all animals and birds. And there was peace and happiness throughout the land. But his reign was short. He died after only 3 years, for he had suffered too much in his life, and the king who came after him was a cruel king.